Hey everyone, welcome to Grace at Night. My name is Ben Chai. I serve as the online director here at Grace Fellowship. And Grace at Night came to be because I have the privilege of filming a lot of people's stories. And Eric here, our very first special super secret guest, was the very first story, like person I ever interviewed on camera. And I just thought you had such an amazing story. But the part that like actually made it into the video, like didn't keep any of your story, and that's partially my fault, partially because like marketing and stuff. So I wanted you to come on to this sold out talk show for because I think you're really cool, and I think you have a really cool story, and I just want people to get to know you and get to hear your story and get to and get to like, I don't know, learn from you, because I know I have. And we kind of started this conversation out with a question. And my question was like, you're one of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life. Every time I see you, you give me a hug and you're like, what's up? How are the kids, whatever. But if we're totally honest with ourselves, I've never been to your house. You've never been to my house. So are we really friends?
No, I have been to your house.
When was that?
Dropped off the clothes when your son was
that's
born.
right.
Yeah.
Was that must
I
have
think
been?
you might. I don't think y'all were there though. I think we just left it at the front door.
Okay, yeah, I must have been at an apartment.
Y'all probably turned off the lights and hid behind the couch.
Right? Yeah, I have a tendency of doing that. I'm kind of a hermit. It is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we need to make that happen. You need to come over.
I'll come drop off my kids for you anytime.
Yeah, like we were talking for a good 20 minutes before this whole thing started. It's really cool because like you're a little bit older than me, but we kind of can share a lot of experiences as far as like how tired we are from our kids and all sorts of things. But you and I clearly look very different. You're way more tattooed than I am. And one of the cool things in the video that we filmed was I got to hear the story of your tattoos. So I'm a total wimp. I don't have any tattoos. My wife has a couple of tattoos, but like I think tattoos are super cool, and I think the stories behind them are super cool. And in particular, there was one tattoo in that video that we kind of, I don't know, spent 5 seconds talking about. And that's the one on your left hand. So right now it says saved, but it's covering up evil.
Correct.
Would you be willing to share?
That story? Absolutely. And like I said, it all started when I was about 26 or so. I got married, and that's kind of when things started going down a little bit. I had 2 daughters, and about 7 years later, we got divorced, and just having my kids taken away from me, and only being able to see them on Thursday and every other weekend just kind of tore me apart. And I just kind of went down this spiral, and I was just looking for anything to fill this void, to kind of numb the pain, I guess you would say, and drugs, whatever it may be, alcohol. And so I was going out all the time when I didn't have my daughters. And I ended up going with some friends. We went to a Motley Crue and Kiss concert. And we were there doing drugs, drinking. I come home, and I tattooed myself with evil.
You did that yourself?
Yeah, did it myself.
Okay, we'll talk more about that. That's pretty hardcore.
Did it myself, and kind of woke up the next day and just didn't really care, man. That's how I was feeling. That's how I identified as myself, and that's how that ended up on my hand.
Dang, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. It's pretty awkward, getting baptized and you got evil tattooed on your knuckles.
Was that the case?
It was so much worse than that.
Tell me more.
Well, let's see. I was baptized, and the night before I got baptized, I kind of fell back into my sin, and now I look back and I'm thinking like, man, the enemy really put something in front of me and made it very easy for me to fall back in this particular day. So I got drunk and I got high the night before, and I woke up the next day and I didn't even want to go. I was like, man, I can't go get baptized like this. I barely got any sleep. But, I dug deep, got up, went, got baptized, and no joke, when I went under the water and I came back out, I could taste I could taste the drugs like flowing from my nose,
Mm.
you know, like one last reminder, one last punch in the gut, saying how unworthy I was. And but that was like a period at the end of the sentence, and I came out of that water and I was like, you know what, the old me is dead, and I'm not perfect, but from that point on, I've tried to do the best I can to follow Christ.
Yeah, don't we all, right?
Yeah.
Man. Um, something that I wonder, and I think you might be a good person to answer this question. So about 5 years ago, my best friend took his own life because of something he did, um, and it was between when he told me what happened, and he was arrested for it, and up to him taking his own life, it was about a year maybe. And he was, knowing what he did and knowing like what kind of the consequences of being associated him would be. Like he was just someone who was really hard to be a friend to. And I kind of wonder, like, if I were in his shoes, and there's like an element of survivor's guilt here. Like if I were in his shoes, what would I have wanted me to do? And like his situation is totally different than your situation. But like, I don't know, like, would you have wanted people to like reach out to you? Were you?
I mean, in my particular case, I wanted to put off this image that everything was okay. I got this under control, and there's a part in one of the alpha videos that I watch where somebody says, drugs and alcohol was not my problem. Reality was my problem, and the drugs and alcohol was my solution. And that's what I did, and I wanted everybody to think everything's good. So I wouldn't have reached out to anybody.
Yeah.
I would just put it deep, Don't bring it up. Don't talk to anybody about it. And I think I told you before, like, when I grew up, you just didn't talk to your friends about your feelings. It's like a sign of weakness, and people, you just never know. People will use it against you.
Right.
So
I kind of feel that might still be the case a little bit, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm pretty open. No, that's not true. I'm not that open about my feelings. Like I think I'm the kind of guy who would prefer to bury everything. If only because, like, I don't know, I just don't want to deal with it. Maybe like I just want to just wait for it to like.
And not only that, you got society. Society is raising men to think that it's not okay to say how you feel to one another. You got to be tough.
Yeah.
That's how everybody grows up thinking.
So if we were to conduct a thought experiment right now, like what, I don't know, if you got to institute some sort of like, hey, everyone do this. This is how, like, if you wanted to teach someone how to share their feelings, like what, I don't know, what would, so if I'll answer my question, like I would say, I think I would always have to preface it with like, no matter what you tell me, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at just telling people how I feel. But when I do, it's after I tell myself, just get out of your own head,
Mm,
stop worrying about what other people think and
right.
just speak what's on your mind. Tell the truth. I mean, if you need help, you need help. You can't always fix yourself, you know?
How do you think someone gets to that place?
I don't know. I got to that place very unconventional. And I think I've told you this story before, but after my divorce, it just things were so dark, and I was in this house alone, and I would be laying there at night, and the house is pitch black. But then there was even a darker black that I would start seeing. I don't know how to explain it. It's just something darker than the darkest part of my house was there, and it went on like this for months, and I would feel whatever this is just coming closer and closer over time. And I was more angry all the time. I would get more depressed. And when I was depressed and I was angry, I would get drugs or I would get alcohol or I would go out with some women or do something to make me happy, right? And I remember having a conversation with my mom one day, and I just told her, I said, I think I need a Bible. And I don't know why I said it. I didn't grow up in church. I don't remember my parents. I don't remember one conversation in my life telling me who Jesus was. I heard the name, but if you would have asked me back then, who is Jesus? I wouldn't have been able to tell you he's God. He's part of the Trinity. I wouldn't have been able to tell you anything about him, you
Mm,
know? So I asked for this Bible, and she gives me this old tattered Bible that had come from my stepdad at the time. And I went home and I sat it on my nightstand and just didn't really think much about it. Didn't read it. It was just there. And over a couple of nights, I noticed, like, man, I was sleeping better. You know, this darkness wasn't. I didn't feel it like hovering over me at night.
mm,
The only way I could explain this was I felt like there was something dark that was waiting for me to be weak enough for something bad to happen. I don't know what that was, but
mm,
so I noticed that I wasn't feeling that as much. It was almost like something started backing up, and that kind of just made me wonder what is going on with this book.
mm,
Maybe I ought to look into it. I know that the evil is real. I knew that the evil was real. um, Shortly after I did that, there was a week at time. There was a week where I was bombarded so bad with temptation that it was just completely obvious that there's some kind of spiritual war going on, right?
mm,
Something's trying to pull me back because in my heart, I'm thinking, hey, I need to investigate what's going on in this book.
mm,
So I was Mr. Popular that week. Everybody wanted to go out. Everybody was calling me, hey, let's go to this bar. The drugs were just readily available. Women that I hadn't spoke to in years out of the blue would call me. It was just very obvious, and that even pushed me farther to Christ
mm.
because I was like, okay, well, something doesn't want me to take any more steps forward,
Yeah.
right? And so during this time, I was my mom had started coming to Grace Fellowship, and she was inviting me all the time, of course, and I would come every other weekend just to when I had my daughters to kind of set a better example.
Mm,
And just slowly my heart started changing. I
mm,
found myself at church the weekends I didn't have my daughters, and but I was kind of still in my sin at that time. I didn't know what I was doing. This was all new to me. All I knew was that whatever that darkness was, I knew what side of this war I wanted to be on at this time,
Mm.
right? And so I just kept going, man, and I tried to get as close to Jesus as I can, you know.
You know, and the kind of the truth behind all of that, and the hard part that I think we might not share as much as like the temptation's still there. At least for me,
Yeah.
you know, all the stuff that I screwed up in my life, like it's not like all of a sudden I got baptized and it's all gone, you know, right? So like, I don't know, like what do you do to like protect yourself from that, you know? I'm asking this for my benefit because it's like I need to learn.
I just try to stay as close to God as I can, you know. The closer I am to God, the better I am at fighting these battles. You know, the temptation is not nearly anything like it used to be,
Right.
but I still get angry sometimes. I still act stupid sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
I just try to get into the Word of God.
Yeah.
You know, and His truth, and abide in Him, and I'm not walking through this alone anymore, so
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to.
That's I like that, and you hit a point there where it's. I feel like it might be. I don't like using black and white terms all over, but like I feel like it's impossible to walk through any of this alone.
Yeah,
you know,
I
feel like no matter what, you need somebody to help you along.
Yeah.
And in our lives, that's Jesus, that's our families, that's you know, everyone. But like, how would you go about I don't know, for someone who doesn't have any of that?
Like, I mean, that's a lot of the reason why people fall into gang life, you know.
Okay.
They might not have anybody to walk through this, and they go to their homeboys or they go to the streets, and that's where they get this love from, you know. But it's not that unconditional love that you get from Jesus,
right?
You know.
Yeah. What do you think that we, like you and I here now, could do better? You know, because I feel like there are just a lot of people who want help, but either have been, you know, trained or raised in a way where they don't ask for it, or have found help. So, like, I don't know, what could we be doing better as just people, as Christ followers, to like help others?
Same advice I told you earlier. Yeah. We need to get over ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get over ourselves, and there's a lot of selfishness in everybody, and even Christians. You know, we're still selfish people, and we strive to be better, but we're all selfish, and we're all sinners. You know, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, would you mind sharing how you tattooed yourself? Like, I'm curious. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's an element of sanitation that's missing.
Trust me, there was. I mean, long story short was I got tired of paying for tattoos.
Are any of your other tattoos self-tattooed?
I mean, I did a lot of these stars, and I did some on my leg.
No kidding.
I did a lot of other people, you know, just for a couple of bucks here and there.
Yeah, was it just like needles and?
No, it was actual tattoo guns.
Okay, cool.
But you know what? I did make a prison tattoo gun one time, and I was like so proud of it. I went and showed my mom.
You know, it's cool to look back on that kind of thing, right? Wow, that is like unbelievably. I mean, the reason why behind some of that is not cool, but like that's unbelievably cool. It's just like I don't know. You don't hear those stories very often here in Katy, Texas, right? Man, that's awesome.
So there's a lot of tattooing in the garage, and I wore gloves, so
yeah. I mean that helps.
New needles
for sure.
New needles, so
Yeah.
we're good.
I feel like tattoos are I mean, they're just an incredible art form. I think about like every time I get a haircut, how much that changes my personality sometimes. But like to put something permanently on your body, it's really meaningful and really impactful. And like what?
Mine are not as meaningful as you're thinking, though. Some of them were just drunk mistakes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about, tell me about maybe some of the ones that are meaningful, and then tell me about some of the ones that might not be quite the same.
The last one of the last ones I got is this Jesus on my arm. And this was just because like I'd already come to Christ, right?
Yeah.
And I have my own viewpoints on tattoos, and I've had people ask me like, well, what do you think about you're tattooing yourself? And I don't think Jesus cares about my tattoos, to be honest with you. I think maybe they're like scars, and when I get to heaven one day, they're not going to be there. These are just earthly scars, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But everybody always asks you, oh, what does your tattoo mean? And I don't really have very many stories other than they're just drunk mistakes, But the Jesus, at least I can use this now as a conversation starter to the faith, or just talking about my testimony to people if it'll help, whatever it is.
So tell me something that I don't know about you. Doesn't have to be anything.
You don't know where I live. One.
I don't. I mean, I'm assuming you live somewhere close to here.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty much an open book,
Tell me about growing up, and if you don't mind, like I kind of want to dig deeper into like how did you get involved in drugs, and was it just friends who did that? And
it was a lot of everything. I grew up in A-Leaf over in Southwest Houston, and I would say my family was like lower middle class, paycheck to paycheck type of family. So we weren't rich, we lived in a neighborhood it was just full of gangs. We had like the Southwest Cholos in my neighborhood that ruled my neighborhood, and then across the street was the Black Disciples, and they used to meet up and just bang it out, right there in the middle of the street, right in front of my house. I grew up and there was this dead end, like catty corner to my house, and that's where the gangs would meet up and fight, and that's where they would do their gang initiations, and that's where they would hang out. And I feel like my childhood was somewhat normal because all my friends kind of went through the same thing. But you might have been playing baseball out in the street, and I was playing baseball out in the street too, but I was just playing with gangsters, I guess, And you just kind of grow up, and it's like you grow up and you think you do what makes you happy. You worry about you do what makes you happy. And I was kind of introduced to drugs like weed pretty young. Cigarettes, alcohol pretty young. And I met this girl, and her family was like big drug dealers, right? And somehow that I started selling drugs for them, and that was just weed. And then somewhere down the line, like the mom handed me a bag of cocaine, and was like, "Hey, you think you could sell this?" And I mean, when it was there, and
Mm-hmm.
just very bad situations,
Yeah.
things that I shouldn't have been introduced to.
Yeah. Well, like when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, teenager, you
Sure.
know.
Right. Man. Where are those people now?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm still friends with a lot of the people I grew up with, and not like friends, like we hang out. We all got kids now.
Yeah.
Um, a few of them are in jail right now. There's been some people got killed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I've had I've had a friend take his life too, and so I kind of talk here and there. Like, it's more like text on your birthday, like, "Hey, happy birthday, man."
Right.
But that's one thing I kind of struggle with is when I came out of life and I came to Christ, I was weary about going back into that crowd, even to preach the gospel, to tell my testimony, anything, because it was so fresh to me, and like,
Yeah.
it just triggered things and reminded me of things that I just didn't like. So I kind of avoided it. And
Mm-hmm. I read this. I read this article this week, and there was a stat in there, and you know, can't trust all stats you read on the internet, but um, it was something like for people who are new to church or people who recently come to Christ, it's something like within 2 years, their circle of friends are all church people,
mm,
and they don't have any more friends who are outside of that group. And,
yeah,
and when you think about it, and I feel like I'm probably going to lose my job saying some of this, but when you think about it, a lot of the things that we do here are geared towards that. I mean, you're making friends with church people. You're
yeah,
spending a considerable. I mean, look. I sleep 56 hours a week. I'm supposed to sleep 56 hours a week, and I'm supposed to work 40 hours a week. But when you put together like between going to church and having a small group and maybe doing some Bible study and maybe doing some other class, and then just hanging out Friday night barbecue with your church
hmm,
friends, I mean, that's a big chunk
yeah,
of your week that you're. And like, if you want to have, like, I don't know, enough sleep and good family time too, like, there's very little room to hang out with people who aren't church people once you're
yeah,
in church.
hmm,
um, so my family, we moved out to LA in 2017. Man, yeah, 2017. And we lived there for 3 years. And it was astounding to me because I was on staff here at Grace then.
hmm,
And when I was leaving, it was astounding to me and kind of discouraging to me the number of people who came up to me and said, like, "Ben, why are you moving out to LA? That place is filled with sinners, and like, you're gonna get caught up in all of that."
yeah,
And I'll never forget, just dear friends of mine, and a lot of you people watching might know them, but shout out to the Brotherton family, Kelly Brotherton, telling me, like, "Ben, if you don't go there, who's gonna
who will?
go?"
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
um, and there's, like you were saying earlier, there's like the shield, there's this protection. Like, once you know you have a relationship with Jesus, once you know, like, once you have that shield, that's just something you pray up, and you're gonna be okay. Like, if you
yeah,
if you have that faith, right? If you
yeah,
trust in it. I don't know. Like, have you so you reconnect with your old friends, like text
yeah.
and stuff,
I
but have
do,
you?
and man, I talk to them now and then. It's not like every day. I mean, I'm at work every day. It's like you
Right. Yeah.
said. I just
Same.
I just don't have time to go hang out with anybody. Sorry, guys, but yeah, I think what it is you engulf yourself with what you like, and when you become a Christian, it's you get this. In my case, I I got this rush, and I wanted to tell everybody that I came across. I felt like this is what I'm meant to do. You
Mm,
know, I'm meant to tell people about Jesus, and I think that's the case for a lot of people that come to Christ later
mhm.
on in life. And I don't know. I just kind of lost it over the way a little bit, and maybe I don't know what it is. I go through valleys, and sometimes I feel closer to God, and other times I'm like, God, where are you? I don't hear you. And I got to remind myself, like, the times that I don't hear from God as much as the times when I'm not really getting into the Word, and I'm so involved with work and getting the kids to soccer and just doing, going, but not setting time for God, and that's the times when I don't feel closest. But
Mm,
that was my case, at least.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, that same for
I
me.
almost
It's
got punched one time for trying to share the gospel.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Tell me about
me
that.
and me and Ruth, we went to like Cozumel or Cancun. I don't remember which one. But we get off this boat and we go to like the swim up bar, and
Mm.
I'm having a beer, and there's a guy there and he's got some tattoos, and I start talking to him and I start, telling him my testimony, and right off the bat he's like, I don't want to hear that crap,
Yeah.
right? So I keep talking about it. I'm feeling good. I had a couple of beers. So I keep talking, and he says, "Man, if you keep talking about this, I'm gonna punch you in the face." So I tell Ruth, she's sitting here. I'm like, "You might want to come sit over here." So I tell him, I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll stop talking about it, but do this for me." I said, "Let me pray for you right now. Tell me something in your life that could be better. You know, let me pray for you, and if you see something in your life change with that, just remember our conversation. That's
Mm.
it. I'm not asking you to go to church. I'm not asking you to do anything. Just remember the conversation." He wouldn't do it, man.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it. Some people just,
And that's okay,
that's okay.
That's okay. I think that's a really hard reality for a lot of, Christians to accept.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's okay. It's okay to just be someone's friend or acquaintance,
Yeah.
and it might take 20 years
Hey,
for
everybody's got their own journey.
right,
It's God's time and it's not ours.
right.
We could talk all day. We could talk our head off and
Mhm.
might not change anything.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's our responsibility then to like maintain these relationships? I do think about like the people I'll text on their birthday, sure,
Hmm.
but if I see them in person, it's like 5 years never passed.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important that we keep inviting them to Christ.
Hmm.
You know, and I had another instance where I was talking to this coworker, and I think he's an atheist. I don't know, but I just kind of told him my testimony. That was it, you know. And when we left work, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, I just want to say thank you. I've never talked to a Christian that wasn't jamming it down my throat,
Mm.
you know? And
Yeah.
it opened the door for a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't convert to Christianity, but who knows?
Who
Maybe I
knows, right?
just planted a seed. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of feel like that's how faith works, right? That's like it takes an Eric Dodd to for me to know Jesus. It takes someone to show me like how I was transformed or how they were transformed. Sorry, um, for me to like want to even approach this.
Yeah.
I think it's terrifying that a lot of I don't know, modern day church strategy is like, come to church, come to our church, come to this program. Hey, you're interested in starting a relationship with Jesus, come to this program. And like I feel like what would be way better if it's just like, hey, if this is something you're really interested in, let me introduce you to this guy. I think you
Mhm.
guys should be friends,
Yeah.
and you guys should just hang out.
Yeah.
You know, and like isn't that what discipleship is, right?
Yeah. And I think part of the problem is people feel like they can't come to church broken.
Hmm.
You know, they feel like they have to get it together and then come get to know Christ.
Hmm.
When it's the total opposite.
Yeah.
You come broken and
Yeah.
let Jesus heal you. You know, I mean, I told you earlier, I was baptized, hungover, with the taste of drugs coming out of my nose and evil tattooed on my knuckles. That's far from perfect, man. You know?
Yeah.
And I think people just have the wrong impression of church. And I don't know. I lucked out. I came to Grace Fellowship. This was my first church. So I lucked out. You know,
There you go.
I've heard a lot of horror stories and I could see the judgment, you know?
Yeah.
But we're all just human, you know. This is a building just full of humans, and we're all sinners.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's perfect.
So here's kind of a contentious question. Do you still feel that judgment now when you come to church?
I mean, of course, not a Grace Fellowship.
No. I mean, seriously, I want to
No,
know.
not here. No, I mean, I've gotten to know everybody here.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I
Everyone knows you.
this is like my family, you know. But I have stepped in other churches, and you know, you get the awkward look, like, what am I doing here?
Mm.
You know, I don't want to call out any churches or anything,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I could see the judgment. I could see how people feel.
What do you think breaks down those walls?
Love,
Mm.
you know, you gotta love people. You gotta love the people that you don't want to love too.
Mm.
You know, that's the hard one. You gotta try to get to know people.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all judgmental though. You know,
Yeah.
we all are. It's a terrible thing about us, but I try to get to know people before I make any kind of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And I often think how a lot of the best things about me and a lot of the best things that I've ever done have always been the things where I'm like, no, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is going to be so not fun.
Yeah.
But for some reason you've opened this door, and I know it'll be okay if I say no and you're not going to hate me for it, but like, oh man, it's like wide open. I better go. And then ultimately it's like, oh, I couldn't see what this would have become, you know?
Yeah. I think we grow the most when we step out of our box a little bit.
Yeah.
When we make ourselves a little bit uncomfortable. You know, sometimes telling your testimony for people is not comfortable. But
It definitely is not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward a lot of the times, right?
Yeah. Just talking about Jesus to people in general sometimes is not comfortable for people.
Yeah.
You know, but God will provide the strength. It's put your trust in Him. If I fall down, God, I'm going to be wondering why, because I trusted you to get me through this, you know?
Yeah. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left in our program. I want to ask you about your Astros hat. I see the 50. Were you at the World Series this year?
No, I wish. No.
Man, okay, so what's your prospectus on Dusty Baker and the team this year?
I don't know, but I love Dusty Baker.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And just like every year, we're going to win the World Series.
I like that.
Go to Gallery Furniture and buy up some furniture.
Yes. Seriously, though, that's you know, I don't know if I call that faith, but that's like a seriously well calculated gamble.
He's a smart guy.
Wow, man, that's pretty epic. So you're a baseball fan. Do you like any other sports? Are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a all-around Houston fan.
Okay.
My big sport.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. My big sport is soccer. I played soccer growing up. My daughters play soccer.
Uh-huh.
My
Yeah.
But the World Cup, man, did you
Man,
watch it?
I did watch it, but okay. So I've always wondered this. I did not grow up in team sports. I was a tennis guy, so super lonely. And but what are your thoughts on? I don't remember what it's called, but like the soccer where it's like everybody wins and everyone gets a trophy and you don't keep points. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun for kids, you know.
Right.
There's no need to put a 4 year old or a 5 year old in some kind of competition sport, but you know, I think you got to learn how to lose sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to learn that you're not always the winner, and you got to be okay with that.
Mm.
You got to learn that you're not always the best at what
I
you're
feel
doing.
like that's how you learn humility, right? When you
Yeah,
just get
yeah,
crushed under the weight of like insane defeat
yeah.
sometimes. I'll never forget. There was this one time when I competed in like a talent show in college. So I was like, fully
Yeah.
conscious and stuff.
Yeah.
And I forgot the words that I was going to sing. And I had a panic attack on stage. And that was by far, I mean, there were hundreds of people. And the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Is it on video though?
It's not, unfortunately. But my roommate was there. I like carried a speaker on stage and everything, and it was a heavy speaker, and I didn't have a car in college, so my roommate and I rode the bus back, and I was just like, I was so embarrassed,
defeated, huh?
Yeah, but like coming out of that, like now, like I don't have any stage fright because I'm like literally nothing could have been as horrifying as that moment in my life.
That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to go through that, but like I'm glad I had the mental acumen to like be okay through that,
Yeah,
and I think part of it was because my roommate was there. He's like, you know what, Ben, it's fine. No one's gonna remember that moment.
It's not on video, Ben.
Yeah, it's not on video. It's gonna be okay. And I think like when it comes to friends, when it comes to sharing our testimonies and stuff, it's I feel like a lot of Christianity, a lot of being a disciple is just being friends with people,
Yeah.
and making room for more friends. And maybe that's going to be my New Year's resolution that I'm making you accountable to, or making me accountable to you for right here, right now. I'm going to commit to like make more friends because I'm not really, I mean, since becoming, I don't know, an adult, since becoming a father, I'm not great at making new friends.
It's hard.
Just want to like hang out with the same people all the time.
The older we get, the harder it is to meet new people.
Yeah. And I always wonder like the depth of a friendship is so, I mean, now, I'm in my mid 30s, but like the depth of a friendship is so separated from the length of a friendship. It used to be for me, like the longer I was friends with someone, like the deeper our friendship was. But now, like I can meet someone and
just
be like, it's like, wow, like you're my friend.
Yeah.
You're my friend.
Yeah.
And that's.
Well, let me tell you, I just want you to know your wife and Wayne Kerr, and they played such a big part in me coming to Christ. I remember coming into this church and hearing them lead worship, and I was so into music. I just connected right away with the music. It's just awesome. I've always wanted to tell y'all that.
Thanks, man.
Well, it wasn't you, it was your wife.
I'll pass it on. Actually, I think she's watching right now, so shout out to Pat. Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being my first guest, the very first Grace at Night ever. Thank you to the 600 people out there. You guys can hear the applause right now. Wow, it's really been an honor to talk with you. And,
likewise.
And I know that this is not the end of our conversation, but yeah, man. So for anyone who's still watching, I'm always someone you can come up and talk to about anything. I'm an open book. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to hang out. I love pizza, so I'll buy pizza if you want to eat. And I know Eric's the same.
I
Eric's
like pizza.
yes, he likes pizza, but he also is a great guy to talk to. So I think people just need to know that like I'm I might be doing stuff. You might see me running around like a chicken with my head cut off a lot because I'm like trying to make things look good and whatever. But like I'm none of that matters if you want to talk to me. Like if you want to be
Yeah.
like, hey, I really need to talk to you about something right now. Like I want to start a culture and I want to start I don't know, a practice in myself where it's like, okay, I'm going to drop everything. It's like this person right here who wants to talk to me is more important than any of that.
Well, it always seemed like Jesus was on the way to do something when somebody would stop him.
That's a great point.
You know,
Yeah. Just like hit the pause button.
hit the pause button.
That's cool, man.
You can always get to the other stuff later.
Right.
Let's talk about Jesus.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well,
And
hey.
shout out to Ruth.
Hey, hi Ruth. Hey Debbie. Cool. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining us for Grace at Night. We're going to be doing this once a month this year, and if we get 1,000 people into this room, it's probably going to happen on a weekly basis. But for now, it's once a month, 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, and yeah, thanks again. My name's Ben, and we're signing off for tonight. Shout out to Olin Gandy, who's been running the switcher and the audio tonight. Woo! But we'll see you next time.